All right, let's jump right into an idea that, well, it might just completely change how you see yourself and, frankly, everyone else around you. It's a pretty radical concept, one that started as a witty comeback and blossomed into an entire artistic philosophy. So let me just ask you, straight up, are you a work of art? And I don't mean that in some cheesy, metaphorical way. I mean for real, literally. Is your very being a masterpiece? Just hang with me here, because we're going to dig into why one of the most important artists of the last century would have looked you in the eye and said, absolutely yes.
So our first section gets right to the point. You are a masterpiece. And look, this isn't some fluffy self-help slogan. No, this is a serious concept from the art world, and it all kicks off with this one quote that's been kind of hiding in plain sight for decades.
And here it is. This comes from the legendary German artist Joseph Beuys. Back in 1983, he said, "I myself am in this moment the artwork. It should come to the point that man himself becomes the artwork." Whoa. That one sentence, that's the key to this whole thing. It's our jumping off point.
So you're probably wondering, where did an idea this huge even come from? Well, get this. It wasn't from some dense academic paper or a big planned manifesto. Nope, it was a completely spontaneous, off-the-cuff comeback on a live TV show. And it all started because of his hat.
Okay, let me paint you a picture. The date is January 27th, 1983. Joseph Beuys is a guest on this TV talk show called, and this is perfect, Art or Swindle. So they're about 47 minutes into the show, and a viewer calls in, right? And this person is clearly kind of ticked off, and they ask why this impolite guy, Beuys, won't take off his signature hat indoors. Instead of just giving some lame excuse, Beuys flips the whole script. He basically says the hat is part of the work because I am the work. He's not just wearing art, he is the art.
And you have to understand, this was so much more than just a clever comeback to get out of an awkward question. It was a massive philosophical statement, right there on live TV. What he was really saying was that the final canvas, the ultimate sculpture, it's us. It's the human being.
Okay, this brings us to something that's really important. And honestly, a lot of people get it mixed up. Beuys actually had two huge revolutionary ideas. And to really get the power of what he said on that show, you got to understand the difference between them.
All right, so on one hand, you've got his most famous idea. Every human is an artist. You've probably heard this one. This is his concept of social sculpture, the idea that everything we do, all our actions, are shaping society like a giant sculpture. So it's all about doing. But then there's the other idea, the one from the TV show, which is way more radical. Every human is art. See the difference? This one isn't about what you do. It's about what you are. It's about simply being.
So let's just make sure we're clear on social sculpture. For Beuys, society itself was this massive, living, breathing work of art. And every single thing we do, every conversation we have, every choice we make, every protest we join, it's all chipping away and shaping this thing. We're all artists contributing to this one giant piece.
Okay, but that idea of being art, that leads to something totally new, what we can call private sculpture. And this is where it gets really personal. This is the art of shaping your own inner world, your thoughts, your perceptions, your consciousness itself. The masterpiece isn't something you create out there, it's the one you're creating in here. And don't think this is some selfish navel-gazing exercise. Not at all. The whole theory is that once you start intentionally shaping that inner world, your private sculpture, it can't help but spill out. It naturally radiates outward and starts to influence the big social sculpture. A person who shapes their own mind with care is going to change the world around them. It's inevitable. So Beuys planted this incredible seed, but unfortunately, he passed away before he could really see it grow. So the question is, who's carrying the torch? Who took this radical idea and is pushing it to the absolute edge today? Well, meet the Joblin Factory. They're an artist collective, and they've basically taken that one-liner from the TV show and made it their entire mission. And they make a really key point. They argue that you don't even have to act to be art, just your existence, the human in itself. That's it. That's the masterpiece. Full stop.
And the way they try to get this idea out there, it's pretty wild. They'll do these guerrilla vernissages, basically crashing huge art events like Documenta with their own unofficial shows. Or they'll just hand out little pocket mirrors to people, forcing them to look and see themselves as the exhibit. They even create these things called ad books, where the text is open for anyone to comment on and add to, so the whole discourse becomes the artwork. And then there's the most provocative one, something they call flesh art.
Yeah, you heard that right. And the philosophy behind it, which often involves preserved salmon, is summed up perfectly by Jack Joblin here. He says the whole point of putting dead flesh on a wall is to make you intensely conscious of your own living flesh. The salmon is just a signpost. It's there to point back at you, the actual living, breathing work of art standing right there in the room.
Okay, so let's zoom out from the high-concept art world for a second. Let's just sit with this and ask a really simple question. What if it's true? What if this isn't just theory? What would the world actually look like if we all believed that every single person is a living, breathing work of art?
I mean, really think about it. The next person you see, your coworker, the guy at the grocery store, that anonymous profile online, what if you saw them as a priceless, one-of-a-kind, living sculpture? How would that change how you talk to them? How would it change everything? The theory basically lays out this domino effect. First, your whole perspective flips. You just start seeing people in a new light. Then, that new perspective starts to change you on the inside. It builds that private sculpture we talked about, one made of respect and empathy. And finally, that inner change it has to come out. It radiates into the world and creates a massive shift in society. What this could create is what's called a perpetuum mobile of respect. Basically, a perpetual motion machine of respect. It just keeps going. Because if you genuinely see another human being as a priceless work of art, I mean, how could you possibly treat them with anything less than the highest regard? It just becomes impossible. It's such a powerful idea, right? It's so beautiful. Which leads to the big, obvious question. If it's so great, why hasn't this revolution happened? I mean, the idea has been floating around since 1983. So what's the holdup? Well, the truth is the idea has been kind of postponed indefinitely. The traditional art world just doesn't know what to do with it. Think about it. Their entire system is built on selling objects. But you can't sell this. How do you sell a person? How do you hang every single human being on a gallery wall? You can't. But maybe that's the whole point. Maybe this revolution was never meant for museums and auction houses. Maybe its real power comes from the very fact that you can't buy it or sell it. Maybe it doesn't need a curator or a critic. Maybe all it's ever needed is a viewer. Maybe all it needs is you. And maybe, just maybe, it doesn't kick off in some crowded, noisy gallery opening. Maybe it starts in a quiet moment, all by yourself. Maybe the very first masterpiece you need to truly see, to truly recognize, is the one looking back at you. Maybe the whole revolution starts right there, in your mirror.